What's going on, folks? Hope you're having a wonderful night or day. I was very excited to see this news article pop up. I want to talk to you again about a game called Nightingale. We did a live stream last week that did a deeper dive into the info we have so far for this game. But if you're unaware of what Nightingale is, I'll go into more detail in the next video, but it's an upcoming online survival sandbox being made by ex-BioWare developers at a studio called Inflexion Games. This game was recently showcased at the Game Awards last week, and Eurogamer just put out an article showcasing an interview done the week prior that gives us even more detail about what to expect. And I'm super glad that I waited because I was just in the process of getting ready to make a video speculating about the PvP and talking about some of the things surrounding this game that could potentially allow it to scale to a massive open world. But let's go ahead and get started with this article itself. So Aaron Flynn is the head of Inflexion Games and also used to be the general manager at BioWare, and he's the one doing this interview with Eurogamer. It starts off by saying that more than 3 years ago, after departing BioWare and founding his own studio, Aaron Flynn has announced his next project. This interview takes place on Zoom, but it starts out with Aaron Flynn saying, "We had imagined the kinds of things we would build in this game and the kinds of things players would get to do." And also another interesting detail to know is that it was originally teased as an online multiplayer RPG. But continuing on, he says, "Over the past couple of years, we just found these new opportunities to take the game and new places we could go. And they seem to resonate with the world we're building and some of the fundamental choices we made early on. Like, create a world that is highly interactive and really empowers players to do what they want. What has remained the constant in all that has been the passion for world building. This idea we want to create a universe for players they can invest their time in. We just evolved over time with new ideas and new thoughts and new gameplay iterations to say, yeah, this feels really good." Now here's where they talk about the setting. Nightingale is set just before the turn of the 19th century in an alternate Victorian world where magic has existed for hundreds of years. This magic allowed humanity to build a network of portals, basically Victorian stargates, to other fantasy realms. Humanity apparently gained access to magic from the Fae, mysterious mythical beings who recently turned up again after a long absence. So going off what we read so far and even later in the article, it seems like we will have access to magic at some point in this game. They say that it was also at this time that humanity's portal network suddenly collapsed, leaving players, known as realm walkers, dispersed in far-off places struggling to survive. Apart from survival, humanity's aim is to now get back to the city of Nightingale, the center of magic. To do that, you'll need to venture forth through remaining portals, battle monsters, gather loot, and build yourself back up again. When you decide to go exploring these realms, you get to make choices about how you want to tackle these adventures. And this is my favorite part. In the trailer, there's a really nice moment in there that's meant to show the dichotomy the world will present, where a giant is bending down to receive an offering from the players. So apparently this is going to be a real thing. They say that's one way you can solve the encounter. A bit later in the trailer, there's a bunch of realm walkers in combat with the giant, and that's another way to try to solve it. Each challenge has a different outcome and each decision has a different consequence. I hope they really build on this because later on in the article it does say we'll be encountering NPCs, and one thing I really wanted in games for a long time, whether it's massively multiplayer or just online in general, is to feel like we as players are playing an RPG, but take that and put it into an online scenario. They next say that resources gained on adventures can be poured back into upgrading your character or into building bases across various maps and terrain with estates and farms. So it sounds like we're going to be getting access to a technology tree, and there's probably going to be gear-based technology we can research, and then building ones like an arc if you want to research metal or stone or wooden foundations, for example. It says we can play solo or with others, though there's no word on team or party size yet, and there's no PvP. NPCs will be present, but it doesn't sound like they'll be fighting alongside us. Instead, we'll talk to them for story and quest lines. And then just to quickly go through the next part, it says that the wider story of Nightingale is being kept under wraps, but its setting will be inspired by Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke, which is not only a book but a TV adaptation that I will be watching. Now when it comes to the player population and PvP side of things, for the player population I do have another video to make that might give some insight on what we might be able to expect from Nightingale, but for the player versus player side I was going to speculate on that because we hadn't seen any advertising for PvP so far, but I do think that even if they don't do that, there's still potential to find a lot of success, because I was going to use the example of Valheim and how that didn't have any PvP, but absolutely blew up when it got released. And I think that if they make a massive world with survival and sandbox elements, rich lore and backstory, which I did anticipate was going to happen based off of them having ex-BioWare developers, and other aspects of it like the graphics and gameplay are solid, I think they might have a real winner. And the next section just dives into their inspiration for the alternate history and Victorian era setting, but they do reconfirm that we'll have weapons, guns, and things that are familiar enough to be recognizable, but then we're going to have that layer of magic on top of that with a really cool magic system. But in conclusion, I'm really excited to learn more about this game. I think this was a great interview so far, and there's really a lot of potential here. I'm going to go deeper into the scale of the world and the player population in the next video, but I just wanted to really quickly bring you guys this news and tell you a little bit more about the PvP system and what we can expect from the RPG aspects. But with that, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, have a wonderful night or day, and farewell.